Hi, welcome to the last catch-up episode on the $5 million project. So from now forward, we're pretty much in real time. But this one, what I want to focus on is user experience. Now, there's about a 3-month period. We're talking February through till the end of May here. So it hasn't all been about user experience, but most of it has. So it's been refining the scope that we've been working on for months and making sure that it's the absolute best it can be. I'm sure everyone out there has used a product at some stage or another where you've opened it, you've started working with it, and it hasn't been clear how to do something. So you've either had to persevere and get some instruction, or you've just given up and moved on to something else. We do not want Roi to be that. We want Roi to be incredibly intuitive. So you open it up, you take one action, and it immediately starts working and doing what you want it to do. If you've got to do 5 steps instead of that 1 step, then we failed and we're not going to be happy. So my job at this point is really to go back through the scopes that we've got. I've got to continue refining them. I've got to definitely fill a lot of gaps that I don't have in terms of internal knowledge, but also I've got to take it and I've got to refine it and make it as best practice as we can. So there was a number of ways I did this, but the most important one was trying to fill the gaps of information that I didn't have. So the simplest way is to look at other products on the market and look at how they address those gaps. It's really, really important when you're doing that you don't take an idea from 2 different products and try and merge them together, because you're going to end up with duplication of processes, or worse, missing processes. So all I would do is I document how 2 or 3 or 4 products would do something, and then I would put that to one side, and then I would map out how I wanted our product to do that specific thing. But at least I'd have some inspiration from these others. And it can be a really time-consuming process to review and look at other products. I mean, for me, this whole 3-month period, most of my time on the project has been doing that. And I've been quite fortunate in that working in my marketing agency, we've had to actually go out and scope machine learning, automation products for some of our recruitment clients. So I've been getting demos, I've been speaking to vendors, or I've historically had access and been able to work on some of these platforms. So for me, I've been able to access this information fairly easily. If you aren't fortunate enough to have that, there's absolutely no reason you can't book and organize demos. A lot of products will give you free trials. You can get in there, you can have a look at how things work. Clearly you can't copy how they do what they do, but you can definitely take inspiration from those specific processes. Now for us, that's all well and good. We've filled some gaps. We now know, oh, we wanted to get to there. How do we get there? We've got that inspiration. We've managed to map that out ourselves. I've worked at it from a perspective of trying to make it as user-friendly as I possibly can, but I have a knowledge gap. I am not a user experience professional. I need to go to someone that understands that if someone clicks there, do we want to open up a new window? Do we want to open up a pop-up? Do we want something to pull into our screen? I don't know the answer to these. So we are lucky enough to have a UX person on the team. So I would go to them with our mock-ups and I would say, look, this is how we've mocked it up. This is what we're trying to achieve here. How should we do this? And we looked at things like colors, making sure it was friendly on the eyes so that you could look at the screen for a long time. Making sure that everything's consistent across the platform. So if we click on a template within automations, that should be the same as using a template within our chatbot. It should have the same look and feel. It should be the same flow. And this has been quite hard because we're developing modules individually. So in some cases, we've had to actually do a module at a further stage. We've realized there's a better way to look at templates as an example. So we've then had to go back through and re-engineer the way templates work in another module to make sure it's consistent throughout. And I think this part of the process has definitely added a considerable amount of time to the project. But again, from my perspective, I think it's worthwhile because we want to make sure that we're coming through with something that is easy to use and is like users are going to enjoy working with. So really, we've now at a point where we've got a platform that we think looks and feels and you can interact with it really, really well. And we've also nearly completed on the scoping. So out of the 10-ish modules that we have, we've scoped 6 or 7 now. So fully scoped means we've got all the diagrams drawn. So every step, everything that you can do has been drawn using Adobe UX, Adobe XD. So that's all scoped and done. We've then written documentation around each of those steps. So, sometimes a diagram can't completely explain everything. So we've written, if this happens, this needs to happen, and this is the instance, and this is where it will go. What we have realized is clearly we're trying to build something that is big. It's a really, really big product. So we're not going to be ready on the timeframes that we originally had. But in fact, all of the team are of the view that that's not really a big problem, because there's no point rushing to market with something that's substandard. We might as well invest the time and build something that's going to be the best it possibly can be at this moment in time. We don't want to future-proof it too much because tech changes all the time, but we definitely want to be as best as we can be. So we've still got another, I'd say probably a month of scoping. And that's not figuring out what the product does, it's just literally documenting what the remaining modules of the product does. And included in that time frame, we're also going to go through and do the estimations in terms of how long is each one of these modules going to take to build compared with our original time frame. And then we know exactly where we sit, and we can start planning things more accurately in terms of product go live and that side. So we're caught up. The next episodes are going to be live. I think we'll probably do them every couple of weeks, but really it's when we've got something interesting to say or run through. So I'll be back to you as soon as something relevant happens.